Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, the 2022 Dodgers have officially won more games than any team in franchise history. I will talk about the 107th win. I'll talk about Yency Almonte's triumphant return, talk about Dodgers getting really close to clinching home field advantage throughout the World Series, and we will talk about Julio Urias' Cy Young case, among other things. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Dodger fans. This is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Or even better, go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now, and then you will never miss a day because you know we're not going to. If this is your first time watching or listening, I am Jeff Snider. My normal co-host is Vince Samperio, although it's just me tonight. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. And this is a fun episode because, as I mentioned at the top, the Dodgers won their 107th game of the season to set a new franchise record. The previous record of 106 was set last year and in 2019. That was the last two full seasons. As we've talked about before, in the last four seasons, the Dodgers they won 106 games, then they won 43 games in a 60-game season, then they won 106 games, and now they've won 107 and counting. It's just been a magical stretch of 4 years for the Dodgers. Of course, they only have one World Series out of the 3 years leading up to this, so hopefully they can make win it again this year. 2 out of 4 would kind of cement this as probably the best 4-year stretch, in a long time anyway. I don't know about in baseball history, but best in a long time. So, I've already started seeing it. People on social media, whatever, 107 wins doesn't matter. If it's all meaningless if they don't win the World Series. I gave my whole long spiel about that last week. If you missed it, go back and check out last week's episode where I talked about that, about the fact that for me, it doesn't become meaningless if the Dodgers don't win the World Series. There's nothing I want more than the Dodgers to win the World Series, but it wouldn't make these first 6 months meaningless if they don't. It's been a very fun season, fun to watch. I love baseball, and I love watching a team that is out there trying to win and doing a really good job at it. I think until you've been a fan of a team that is bad, that's basically out of contention by June, you can't really appreciate how nice it is to be rooting for a team that gives you something to root for the whole 6 months of the regular season. If anything, it's the downer of being a Dodger fan is that we always get a few weeks at the end of the season of games that aren't meaningful. Not always, not in 2018 and not last year, but a lot of years it's like, oh, just playing out the string, and like this year, and yet we're still finding ways to enjoy it, still having fun as Dodger fans. And I don't know what the Dodgers did to celebrate. I don't know if they did anything to celebrate after the game tonight, winning their 107th game. But it is a meaningful accomplishment, setting a record. Dodgers have been around for 140 years or so. To do something that no Dodgers team has ever done before is impressive. And it's exciting, and it's something to celebrate. And hopefully it's just another celebration along the way, heading towards the ultimate celebration sometime between November 1st and November 5th. But for now, it's what they have, and I hope they enjoyed it. The next goal, there's two next goals. The Dodgers' magic number is down to 2 to clinch home field advantage throughout the postseason. If they, it's the Astros that are chasing them right now. The Astros have the second best record in baseball. So any combination of Dodgers wins and Astros losses that add up to 2, and the Dodgers have clinched home field advantage throughout the postseason. The Astros lost on Wednesday night. The Dodgers won. So the magic number went from 4 to 2. So the Dodgers could clinch it as soon as Thursday with another. Actually, I think the Astros are off, if I remember right. I didn't look very closely, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that the Astros aren't playing on Thursday, which would mean the soonest the Dodgers could clinch the home field advantage would be on Friday. Don't quote me on that. Like I've said, I don't really pay much attention to the Astros except when it's a magic number thing. So I don't have their schedule memorized, but I think they're off. I think that's what I saw. Either way, the Dodgers sometime this week are going to clinch home field advantage throughout the postseason. And then we will know exactly what dates there might be Dodgers home games. Then you can really start planning your trips to LA, or I guess that's just me. I'm the one who lives outside of LA. You probably live there. But you can start planning your trips to Dodger Stadium. I will start planning my road trips to get down to LA, figure out when I'm going to go down and all of that, because we will know dates, at least for possible games. The next goal after that, it's not as big a deal, but if the Dodgers can get to 111 wins this season, which means going 4-3 over their last 7 games, if they can get to 111 wins, they would set the franchise record for the best full season, the best season, the best winning percentage over a non-shortened season. Obviously, I don't think any Dodger team will ever top the 2020 team on winning percentage, but that would require actually setting the major league record for wins. But if the Dodgers can get to 111 wins, it would top the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers and the 1899 Brooklyn Superbas for winning percentage. Because the 53 team, they won 105 games, but that was an 154 game season. So they had a better winning percentage than the 206 win teams. The Dodgers right now have a better winning percentage than that 1953 team did. All they got to do is finish 4-3 to set that record. They still have a chance to win 114 games this year. That would be pretty cool. You know, I'd love to see them at least get to 112, 113. It's just been a really good year. And this game, it's funny. You know, it's an exciting time. This game was kind of ugly. The Dodgers won 1-0. It was an extra inning game. The Dodgers didn't score their first run until the 10th inning. Overall, they left 11 runners on base. They left 10 runners on base in the first 9 innings. Joey Gallo himself had 4 strikeouts, 2 of them with the bases loaded, the other 2 with 1 runner on. So he left 8 guys on base all by himself. It was ugly game on the offensive side. On the pitching side, it was beautiful. And I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about that pitching side of things in this game because it was magical and wonderful, and it kind of a glimpse into what we might see in the postseason. So I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. Hey guys, it's time to talk about a delicate subject. The Dodgers have 107 wins, but do you feel like you can't even get one? While the Dodgers are popping champagne, do you wish you were popping, well, anything? If you can't tell, those are euphemisms, and this episode is sponsored by BlueChew. Guys, we all know confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate. That's where BlueChew comes in. BlueChew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready when the opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Look, if I can talk about this on a podcast that my mother and my son both listen to, on what will probably be our most listened to episode of the season so far, you can have a private online conversation with a licensed medical provider you don't have to see at the dinner table. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. They always say first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code LOCKEDON to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. All right, I am back. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. It really does mean a lot to Vince and me. I want to shout out to Vince, thank him for holding down the fort on yesterday's episode. I hope that it's okay with you, listeners and viewers, that we have been doing a few more solo episodes lately. We're kind of gearing up for the postseason. We're kind of doing the same thing the Dodgers are doing with the division clinched. We're kind of taking a breather to make sure we pace ourselves for October, because I know we're going to want to do most of our episodes together during the postseason. And so we're kind of trying to take our breaks where we can right now. You know, it's like basically me taking a night off last night was kind of like Freddie Freeman taking a day off. I basically, what I'm saying is Freddie Freeman and me, kind of the same person. So thanks to Vince for that. And I'm happy to hold it down tonight while Vince is doing some family stuff. So this game, the Dodgers won 1-0, a shutout win over a good Padres team that's probably going to make the postseason. It's a big deal. And Julio Urias was outstanding. He went 6 innings. We thought he might be done after 5 innings. He had pitched 5 shutout innings, and the Padres had the top of the order coming up or not quite the top of the order. I think it was the 2, 3, 4 hitters coming up, starting with Juan Soto. And Dave Roberts said, you know what? Julio's pitch count is under control. Let's send him out there. And, you'd think maybe there's a temptation to pull Julio for the sake of his ERA because, 5 shutout innings is great. You've got Soto and Machado coming up to see Julio for the 3rd time in the game. I don't know. But Robert said, no, go get him, Julio. And so he got Soto out to lead off the inning. He walks Machado and then gives up a base hit to Brandon Drury. So it's 1st and 3rd with 1 out. And Dave Roberts stayed on his seat. He didn't come get Julio. I don't know if he was hoping to get him through the inning to give him a chance to get the win if the Dodgers could have scored in the top of the 7th, or if it really was just, hey, Julio, go get him. Let's see what you can do. And what he could do was awesome. He got Will Myers and Jake Cronenworth both to pop out to end the inning. 1st and 3rd, 1 out in a scoreless game. And to get 2 weak pop-ups is huge. And Julio's smile walking off the field, some of it was just, you could tell it was like, that's awesome that Doc let me stay out here and that I got the job done. Some of it, I think he was joking around with Machado. You saw him kind of pat Machado on the back as Machado jogged past him. After the game, Julio said that, this is a tweet from Fabian Ardaya, said Julio Urias and Manny Machado had some playful banter between innings tonight about their matchups this year. Machado is now 6 for 11 with a walk and 3 home runs against Julio this year. Julio said, I know he sees me really well out there. He won today, but they weren't homers, so I feel like I won. Yeah, Julio, you won. They weren't homers. In fact, no homers. Nobody scored a run against the Dodgers today because after Julio was done, then the bullpen came to town. And you had Evan Phillips pitch the 7th. And it was kind of an interesting spot for Phillips because, like I mentioned, Julio had just gotten through the tough hitters in the order in the 6th. And so you thought, well, maybe they'll wait and have Phillips pitch the next time that Soto and Machado part of the order comes up again. But no, they just went with Phillips in the 7th. Then they went with Yency Almonte in the 8th. And that ended up being a big part of the lineup. He was the one who got to face those tough hitters in his very first game back. Almonte was just activated from the injured list earlier on Wednesday before the game. Phil Bickford was put on the injured list to make room on the roster. That ends Bickford's regular season, and since Bickford is very, very unlikely to be on any postseason rosters, it most likely ends his season overall. Yency Almonte came back, and they immediately threw him in, and he looked great. He got 2 groundouts, and then Manny Machado up at the plate, and he struck out Machado on a filthy slider. It was beautiful. And Almonte, his ERA is now down to 1.11. I don't know if Yency Almonte is this good, but he's been this good all year. And it's because of changes he's made. I'm always hesitant to believe that a guy can just get better all of a sudden unless it's tied to a specific change. And Almonte came to the Dodgers. He's talked about some of the changes that he has made because of working with the Dodgers pitching coaches and that staff. And so when there's a specific change tied to it, like Max Muncy changed his swing and became a power hitter. And then earlier this year, he changed his swing again and started being good again. Those are the things. It's like, that's why I have a hard time believing sometimes when Cody Bellinger has a good couple games, it's like, is he fixed? Well, I don't know. He's not, he's doing things different, but that's because Bellinger always does things different. But, it's hard to believe it. But when there's a specific change a guy makes and the results come, I'm like, yeah, looks like the changes worked. And I think that's Yency Almonte. So he pitched the 8th. And then Alex Vesia comes in to pitch the 9th. Looked great. Even faced some right-handed hitters and got them out. Vesia, he's not really a only face lefties kind of guy, but he's definitely better against lefties. But I thought it was awesome that Dave Roberts threw him out there, said, let's see how you do against some righties. And and he did great. And then after the Dodgers score in the top of the 10th, let's talk about how they scored. They start with the runner on base. Mookie Betts started on second base because he made the last out of the 9th inning. Trey Turner led off the inning. Looked terrible. Trey had a bad night. He's had several bad nights. He had 3 hits in the first game of the series. This game, another 0-for. It was a struggle. And this strikeout, I mean, the pitch he swung and missed at for strike 3, I haven't looked, but it must have missed the plate by, I don't know, at least a foot. It was a bad pitch. And, it's like, I don't know what to think, because I know that Trey Turner is a better hitter than that. But he's also, it's kind of what he is. He's always been undisciplined. I remember talking about it back when Tony La Russa chose to intentionally walk Trey Turner after a 1-2 count because first base opened up. And I said on this podcast that night that walking Trey Turner in that situation, I know he's a very good 2-strike hitter, but he's also a dude who chases. So you don't have to throw a pitch in the strike zone, and you still have a decent chance of getting him out. And that was what we saw here. I'm just pulling up the video. Yeah. Oh man. So I'm just looking at the graphic of that at bat. And if the plate is 16 inches wide, it looks like that pitch was probably 19 inches outside, and Trey swung and missed at it. Just a terrible at bat when all you need is put the ball in play, move the runner over with nobody out. Even if you ground out to second, get the guy over. And he didn't do that. Luckily, then the Padres had a pass ball, and that moved Mookie to third with 1 out while Freddie was up. That pulled the infield in, and Freddie Freeman blooped a single into left field or left center. It's hard to say if it would have been caught if the infield had been playing at regular depth, but it definitely would have been closer to being caught than it was. Instead, Mookie is able to walk in from third base. The Dodgers score the run. It's Freddie Freeman's 192nd hit of the season, which ties his career high. No, sets a new career high. He was tied with his previous career high at 191. So now he has a new career high. He has 7 games left to get 8 hits to get to 200 for the first time in his career. Exciting stuff there. And the Dodgers took the lead. Weren't able to cash in and get Freddie in, but that's okay because Tommy Kahnle came in the bottom of the 10th. And first batter, Josh Bell, hits a ground ball to short. It moves the free runner, Jurickson Profar, to third base, but gets the first out. And then Kahnle against Trent Grisham. I almost said poor Trent Grisham, but nobody would believe I meant that because anybody who's been listening to this podcast for a while knows how I feel about Trent Grisham, and you will never get me to say a sympathetic thing about that dude. He struck out looking. It was one of the most overmatched I've ever seen a hitter versus pitcher in a matchup. It was like, I know it's not really a foregone conclusion. I know Trent Grisham could have gotten a hit, but the whole time he's up there, it's like, I can't imagine him getting a hit. And then he strikes out looking at a changeup that's, I'm not even on the corner. It got a lot of the plate, and he just looks at it. And it's like, Trent Grisham, like, you used to be good, and now you're really, really, really bad. And he's still good defensively, but they don't get to get much benefit from that defense because he's sitting on the bench most of the time because he's really, really bad at baseball now. He can't hit. So not poor Trent Grisham, but man, that was funny. And then Ha-Seong Kim comes up, and it's a big at bat here because after Kim is Soto and then Machado. And so in a 1-0 game with the runner on third, you got to attack Kim because you can't afford to walk him and bring up Soto. And so he attacked him, and Kim hits a little tapper. Kahnle charges in, fields it, makes a strong throw to first. Dodgers win. Kahnle's first save as a Dodger, 12th different pitcher this year to earn a save for the Dodgers, 5th save of Kahnle's career. And you look at this game, Julio, then Phillips, then Almonte, then Vesia, then Kahnle. That is a postseason pitching staff. That is a game that any team would love to have in the postseason. And realistically, in the postseason, hope you don't need four relievers like that. Hopefully the offense shows up and you get by with 2 or 3 relievers. Because you don't have to go to extra innings or whatever. But it was just outstanding. And then you got maybe Blake Treinen coming back. You got Brusdar Graterol, who didn't pitch in this game. You've got other arms who can be pretty good. The Dodgers have potential to have a very good pitching staff in the postseason. They have potential to have a very good offense in the postseason. And when you add up a very good pitching staff and a very good offense, you get a lot of success, which is what the Dodgers have had in the regular season this year and hopefully what they're going to have in the postseason. So I'm going to come back in just a minute. My last topic is going to be Julio Urias' Cy Young case. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. All right, welcome back to Locked On Dodgers. Thank you one last time for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. We really do enjoy talking Dodgers with you. We love hearing from you. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'd love to hear your comments in the comments section about what you think. If you're listening, we'd love to hear from you on social media, Twitter over at Locked On Dodgers. You can just mention us anywhere. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We love hearing from you guys. I'll give you all the contact info at the end of the episode, but we love hearing from you. If you're in any groups, on Reddit or Facebook or anything of Dodger fans, and you want to drop in a link to, a video of our podcast from YouTube, we'd love that. Share that. I'm not good at self-promotion, and most of those groups don't really like much self-promotion. But hey, if you are in a group and you enjoy this episode and you think, I think other people might enjoy this, drop it in, share it with them. We would love that. Always looking to reach more Dodger fans. So my last topic, as I mentioned going to the break, is going to be Julio and his Cy Young case. And really what it comes down to, nobody in the National League has been better than Julio this year. But that's quality. The question is quantity. And the reason that Julio might not win the Cy Young Award is because Julio, after his 6-inning performance tonight, is up to 170 innings pitched this year. Sandy Alcantara is at 220 2/3. Alcantara probably has 2 starts left. Julio has 1 left, which means Alcantara is going to finish with at least 50 more innings than Julio and maybe closer to 60. It's meaningful. And Alcantara, he's been good. He's been very, very good. It's innings pitched. I'm not saying the Cy Young Award should go to the guy with the most innings, because that would be crazy. But Alcantara has a 2.32 ERA. Julio's ERA is 2.17. So Julio's been better, but this 50 or 60 more innings at almost as good is pretty darn meaningful. Now, the case that Jerry Hairston Jr. made on the Dodgers postgame show today is something that I am sympathetic to. And I don't necessarily feel as strongly about it as Jerry does. Jerry said it would be a travesty if Julio doesn't win the Cy Young Award this year. I don't believe it would be a travesty. I believe that Alcantara has a very good case. If I was voting, I might even vote for Alcantara. I don't know who I would vote for. I go back and forth, and it's hard for me. Obviously, I'm a Dodger fan. I'm biased, and I can recognize that bias. It's harder to actually recognize what effect it's having on your opinions. So I can recognize that I'm biased. I don't know for sure what that means. But, Julio has been the better pitcher this year. And if you look, Julio actually has a better strikeout rate than Alcantara, roughly the same walk rate. Alcantara's a little bit better on walk rate. Julio has the better home run rate. There's underlying numbers. Julio has slightly higher whip. No, Julio has a better whip. Oh, Alcantara, I got these mixed up. Alcantara has the better home run rate. Julio has the better whip. But if you look at their actual wins above replacement, Julio's at Baseball Reference, Julio's at 4.5 and Alcantara's at 7.3. It's not even close. And that is because of the quantity, the volume of innings. There's a ton of value there. But getting back to Jerry Hairston's argument, Jerry points out that Alcantara has not pitched any stressful games this year in the context of, do these games matter? Because the Marlins are bad. The Marlins have been bad basically the whole year. They're 64 90. They're in 4th place in the National League East. The last time the Marlins were over 500 looks like back in about May probably. Yeah, the Marlins were 12 11 back on May 3rd. And I think as I'm scrolling through, that's the last time they were over 500. And so they have never been playing for anything this year. And so every one of Alcantara's starts has been like, sure, go through 9 innings. What do we care? Julio, the Dodgers have been, pacing him, knowing that, Julio last year threw 185 and 2/3 innings, by far the most of his career. So this year they're like, well, and then he also pitched in the postseason. This year they're like, well, we don't want to go too much more than that. We want to keep it around there for the sake of his health, for the sake of him being fresh and effective in October. The Dodgers have to play every game with an eye on October. And so Julio was never going to get a complete game this year, because why would the Dodgers let him go 9 innings when their goal is to win the World Series? And so, yes, Alcantara's extra innings have value, and I believe that Alcantara has been more valuable from a pure value standpoint than Julio this year. And I think that's why I would probably vote for Alcantara for Cy Young, because I do believe that the best pitcher, the most valuable pitcher, is the best pitcher. The Cy Young Award should be for the pitcher who provided the most value. And, people like to, with the MVP award, people like to do mental gymnastics about the word valuable, but it means what it means. It means who played the best. And, Julio played the best, but Alcantara played so much more at almost as good that it's probably better, if that makes sense. It's like if somebody said, I will give you $100 an hour for 8 hours a day, or I will give you $95 an hour for 11 hours a day. You would take the $95 an hour for 11 hours a day, because that's a lot more money. And Sandy Alcantara is $95 an hour for 11 hours a day. Julio is $100 an hour for 8 hours a day. So Julio is a better hourly rate. Alcantara is more money overall, if that makes sense. So I think that's why I would vote for Alcantara. But I do think Julio deserves some major consideration. And I've never really been a fan of including team performance in an individual award. But a lot of that natural reflex from me against that is when people want to reward a guy on a better team. When they say, well, I remember when Alex Rodriguez won the MVP on a last place team, people are like, well, how valuable could he have been? Without him, they still finished in last place. It's like, well, he was the best player in baseball, so he deserves the MVP. Saying, well, if you don't make the playoffs, MVP should come from a playoff team. I don't agree with that. This is kind of the opposite of that argument, though. The argument that Hairston's making that I'm a little bit more sympathetic to is Alcantara's not pitching under any pressure. And so do we know how he would have done if he had been pitching for a first place team? We don't know. And because we can't know, I don't think you can just assume that he would have done worse. I do think we can assume he would have pitched less for a better team. Because a team that was thinking about October wouldn't have let Alcantara throw, 5 complete games this year? And so I don't think that a good team would have let him do that. So I get the argument. But ultimately, I think Alcantara's going to win the Cy Young. I think Julio will finish in second. And I think I probably agree with that. Although I wouldn't think it was terrible if Julio did win it. I can understand that argument, and I can't even say it's wrong. I just say I don't totally buy it. Anyway, I know that, I don't know, a lot of people in the YouTube comments like to call me a homer sometimes, and I hope the fact that I just said I would vote for the Marlin over the Dodger for Cy Young Award doesn't ruin my street cred in those idiots' eyes. But not you guys. You guys aren't idiots. You guys are smart. You're awesome fans, and we love talking Dodgers with you every day. So thank you for being here with us again today. Again, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the YouTube comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on social media. We love talking with you, and we hope you enjoy listening to us talk. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every day. And now for your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. If you're not watching or listening to Locked On Dodgers every day, we'd love if you add 1 or 2 days a month to your rotation. If you have friends or family who love the Dodgers, please tell them about the show. Again, if you're in any Facebook groups or subreddits or whatever about the Dodgers, please feel free to share the show there. Any way you can help us get the word out, that would be awesome. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at Vince Samperio. I'm on Twitter at Snidog, and the DMs are open in all of those places. Our email address is lockedondodgers@gmail.com, and our phone number for voicemails or text messages is 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.